Hi, everybody. Today I have a haul for you of library books, recent purchases, and a reading update on current books that I'm reading. Okay, the first book that I wanted to talk about is Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. This book is part of my books that came out when Gilmore Girls and Friends were on TBR, and this came out during season 1 in 1994. It's about a Native American girl named Sal who goes on a road trip with her grandparents to go find her missing mother. And in the second part of the plot, her classmate Phoebe is also trying to solve a mystery about the fact that her mother has gone missing. And I have a theory that Sharon Creech might have been a fan of Friends because her character Phoebe is quirky, like Phoebe Buffay, and she's also a vegetarian. And I have a feeling that maybe when Jerry Spinelli wrote Stargirl, also another quirky character very similar to Phoebe who played the ukulele. So this book got 4.5 stars. And I loved the plot of finding Phoebe's missing mother and the twist that was related to it, which I won't spoil. Of course, I'm not sure if you will actually be picking this up unless you have a child who is in the grade level this book is for. I first read this book when I was in about 4th grade. The next book that I'm reading is a reread also for the books that were published when Friends and Gilmore Girls were on. This is the 25th anniversary edition of Tuck Everlasting, which came out again in 1994 when Friends was in season 1. So I read this last spring, and I also read it in preparation when I auditioned for the PTA play in 2022 when I was in the ensemble. This is not one of my favorite books. It's not one of my favorite musicals either, to be quite honest, because Winnie is a Brat. I think when they casted the movie that came out in 2002, Alexis Bledel, who is from Gilmore Girls, was perfectly cast as Winnie Foster because Rory is a brat and so is Winnie. Me and Kathleen will be reviewing this book later on in the spring, so I don't want to go into too much detail about it. The next book I'm reading for my books that were popular or published when Friends and Gilmore Girls were on TBR is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. This was a modern retelling of Cinderella for the age that it came out in. This was published in 1997. The movie came out about 3 years later in 2000 and stars Anne Hathaway, and this is another 4-star read. The next book that I'm rereading for the first time since childhood is Ramona Cleary, Age 8 by Beverly Cleary. I wish I had thought to reread these Ramona Quimby books when I found out that Beverly Cleary died at age 100 a couple of years ago. That would have been a fun thing for me to do. But right now I am currently on chapter 5, The Extra Good Sunday. The next book I'm rereading is Euphoria by Lily King. I think I mentioned this in one of my last reading update videos, and since that previous video, I am now on chapter 15, page 145. The next reread I am doing this month is Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is a classic book that is about slavery, and I'm ahead of myself a little bit because I'm pretty much done with my January TBR, so I've already started my TBR for Black History Month. The next reread that I'm doing is The Third Gilmore Girl, which is Kelly Bishop's memoir. Me and Kathleen are buddy reading this for our February book club pick for our Gilmore Girls TBR that we're doing for throughout the whole entire year. I read this book when it first came out, and what I really enjoyed learning about Kelly Bishop was how she was a dancer on Broadway and she originated the role of Sheila in a chorus line, who was one of the 3 people in the song at the ballet. The next book that I'm reading is my book club book with Sonia and Chandler for February. We're reading Althea, The Life of Tennis Champion Althea Gibson by Sally H. Jacobs. I heard about this through Olive at A Book Olive, and it is a biography for a tennis player who was popular in the 1950s, but her career was overshadowed by Arthur Ashe, so you didn't really hear a lot about her, so learning about her is very interesting. The next book is on my TBR for books that were published during the years that Friends and Gilmore Girls were on. This came out in 1996. It was on the bestsellers list the following year in 1997. So it came out in season 3 of Friends and was on the bestseller list the previous year. The following year during season 4. And this is a memoir of a person named Frank McCourt who grew up in an Irish-American family. And I am at the part of the book right now where he and his family are visiting their family in Ireland. And as I read this book, I'm really enjoying the Irish countryside scenery, because when I read books about other places, I really like how the picture is painted of the scenery, because it helps me learn more about places I've never been to before. The next book that I picked up at the library recently is The Idiot by Elif Botman. This is a dark academia novel that is set at Harvard University, and I heard about it because it is on A Book Olive's January TBR, so I can't wait to see her review about it at the end of next week when she posts her wrap-up to see if my opinion is the same. The next book was recommended to me by Sarah Adams. At her book signing, I asked her if she could recommend to me a book that had a character with a disabled protagonist in it. And this is the first book in her Chloe Lisa's Wilmot Sister series, which is like modern romance retellings that are based on Shakespeare. And I think this is based on Twelfth Night. Oh wait, what does this say? So the disability that the main character in this book has is deafness, and there's also terminal illness mentioned. So I have read another book by her called The Mistletoe Motive, which is a Christmas mystery that's set in a bookstore, and the main female character, Gabriella, has autism. So I can't wait to read this Wilmot Sister series, because I'm really interested to see how Chloe Leese interprets other disabilities. The next book I just picked up at the library today is called Disfigured. I have been waiting for this book for so long, and I'm happy that it finally came off of the whole list. With Cindy recommended this in one of her wrap-ups from last spring, and it is an essay collection about disabled fairy tale characters. And one of my writing goals this year, as I mentioned in my goals video, is to write a fairy tale, and I am hoping to write a fairy tale with a disabled character. So this essay collection should really help me a lot with that. The next book that I picked up at the library today is A Holly Jolly Diwali, and this was in a recent video that I saw on, maybe it wasn't such a recent video, maybe it was, I don't remember when she posted it, but this was on a video I saw on Kayla's channel, and it's basically about a couple celebrating Diwali, which is a holiday that is celebrated by people who are Indian. So there is an episode of The Office where they celebrate Diwali because Mindy Kaling's character talks about her nationality because Mindy Kaling is Indian. So I'm really excited to learn more about Diwali because I don't really know much about it. Diwali is a festival of lights holiday by the Indian culture that is at the beginning of November. The next book I heard about on Millie Reads a Lot anticipated releases for January video. This book just came out last week, and it is a mythology retelling of ancient Greek mythology. So I'm really into that stuff. As you know, I have read The Song of Achilles 3 times and Circe once. I'm going to be rereading Circe again pretty soon. The next book on my TBR for Black History Month is called I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing, which is a memoir by the late Maya Angelou, who passed away a few years ago. I think she died in 2021 or 2022, and she was the National Poet Laureate. So I bought this book a couple of years ago, and I have not read it yet, so I'm really excited to read it. The next book is called Lost on a Mountain in Maine. A movie was recently released that's based on this book, and it's about a memoir about a 12-year-old boy who has to survive when he gets lost in the mountains when he's on a hike with his family. And this is kind of like Hatchet in the way that it's about a little boy learning to survive in the wilderness by himself. And Kathleen and I are going to be buddy reading this together in June for our Gilmore Girls TBR. The reason why we picked it is because it represents Lorelai in a spin-off series, much like the book Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which we just watched the movie of, because it's about hiking. And in that book, in that episode of the spin-off series, A Year in the Life, Lorelai decides to go on a hike of, I think it's the Pacific Coast Trail, which is the same trail that Cheryl Strayed goes walking on in her memoir Wild. The next book is called Consider the Lobster. This is another book that me and Kathleen are going to be buddy reading in June for our Gilmore Girls TBR. This actually, I don't think has too much to do with Gilmore Girls. It just has a lot to do with the fact that we're both from Maine and we like lobster. And we also have a friend from art class. His name is Peter, and he goes lobstering. The next book is The Match by Sarah Adams. I picked this up at the bookstore when I went to go get Big, Borrow, or Steal signed, and I read this book back at the end of November, and it's a romance book about a girl who has epilepsy who starts a guide dog walking company, and she falls in love with the father of one of her clients who is 10 years old. And what I really liked the best about this is the found family that Evie has with Charlie. Oh, sorry. Charlie's a dog. Jacob and Sam, who is the daughter who needs the service dog, and her father. The next book that I have is called Beauty by Bree Lee. This is a book about plastic surgery, and I heard about it through Olive's channel because she paired this book up with If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha, which is a book about plastic surgery in Korea. And I also think that Carrie Can Read also read If I Had Your Face. So I can't wait to read this because I'm interested to see what her thoughts are about plastic surgery. I personally do not agree with it, and I hate the fact that celebrities do it because they are already very pretty. Like Courtney Cox, for example, got plastic surgery after she was on Friends in the early 2000s, and I really don't think she needed to do that because she was already very pretty before she got the plastic surgery. And then the final book in this haul is the annotated version of Little Women. I read this book. I have read this original book twice. I bought the annotated version so I can go through all of the notes and see if my opinions match up with the person who annotated it. So I am excited about this. So thank you for tuning in. I will be back with another progress update probably at the end of next week on February 1st. And I will also be doing a specific tailored progress video for my Friends to Gilmore Girls TBR because I have tier ranked all of the books I have read so far in that TBR, which is all of the books that I read last year basically. So thank you for tuning in. Have a good weekend.